for having me as your guest speaker. This group is awesome, and I've been coming to this group now for about 4 or 5 weeks, and I think you guys have got it down. I mean, what I did with Airbnb, forming a group, you guys have already got it here, so use it. Between Cross Campus and Innovate Pasadena, you've got a lot of good tools. But I'm supposed to tell you what I did, so we'll go from there. As Mike said, I was unwillingly an entrepreneur. I had been a newspaper photographer. I wanted to continue being a newspaper photographer. My late husband and I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area in 1971. I couldn't get a job. I even had the photo editor of the San Jose Mercury News tell me, you have a nice portfolio, yeah, you got good experience, yeah, you won a few awards, we don't hire girl photographers. Okay? Exit 1971. About 10 years later, that guy retired and he was replaced by a gay woman photographer. Okay, but yes, there is karma and cosmic justice, but sometimes it takes a while to catch up. So in the meantime, my husband had found a job. He was happily going to work every day. I was unhappily crying every morning. So I decided, okay, I better start a photo business. I wasn't interested in doing kid portraits, weddings, quinceañeras, bat mitzvahs, etc. I still wanted to be a photojournalist. So I realized that there were a lot of magazines in the world. I realized that there were a lot of companies in what was the beginning of Silicon Valley. You may have heard of some of these companies: Hewlett-Packard, Varian, Amdahl, Fairchild Semiconductor, NASA Ames Research, SRI, Stanford. Okay, that's where Silicon Valley was at when I was starting. Okay, long time ago. But then a few new companies came on the scene. Intel, AMD, Apple. Business started picking up. I put my name on the back of every print I delivered to every PR agency, every in-house communication director, every ad agency, and pretty soon I started getting calls from magazines and trade pubs, and pretty soon I had a business. So while I was freelancing in Silicon Valley and trying to make my way, there was no internet, there was no Facebook, there was no place to connect except the commercial photo labs. And a bunch of us would kind of meet at the lab when we were picking up our film, and we'd be griping, oh, did you get a bid from that guy at such and such XYZ widget? Do you know he doesn't even know how to write a bid? He calls you 5 times an ad stuff. Or do you know a good place to get XYZ this? Or hey, I need a lens for this. Do you have one I could borrow? So pretty soon we ended up forming a photography organization. One of the goals of the organization was to raise the visibility of the photographers in Silicon Valley. The founders of this organization, which was called Peninsula Advertising Photographers Association, PAPA for short, and I became the mama of PAPA. They always tease me and say, oh, you can be the mama of PAPA, because there weren't very many women photographers, so pretty soon we had maybe 5 women photographers in all of Silicon Valley. But anyway, by the time the group had dissolved about 23 years after its founding, we had been meeting monthly. We had developed a strong network where we assisted each other, where we referred jobs to each other. We published, I think, 6 biannual advertising directories of our work. We held an annual exhibit of our work, which all the art directors in town pretty soon knew was a hot number, and everybody came and expanded our visibility in our work. And we endowed a scholarship for photography at San Jose State. So that was my basis, okay? My late husband and I moved to Pasadena in 2000. My father has terminal cancer. I'm having my 2nd book published, and we're moving into a new house. So I'm not even thinking about being in business. I'm looking for a job. So after My book was published after I did the book tour, which my book is called On Being 100, 31 Centenarians Share Their Extraordinary Lives and Wisdom. And it was for 1 week an LA Times bestseller. And it is now out of print, but you can buy it on Amazon. Okay, end of commercial. So, then, after kind of the fallout of all the moving and family issues, I thought, okay, I want to teach. I had taught at San Jose State. So that's it, I need a job, I'm going to go teach. Unfortunately, I got a teaching job. Unfortunately, my husband passed away. Teaching jobs don't pay very much. My mother moved in with me. Life happened and I stopped working, took care of my mother, and then I needed a job again. So I went back to school, I updated my skills. I couldn't get a job. Enter Airbnb. Airbnb has a great slogan saying, anybody can become an instant entrepreneur. We help people stay in their homes by raising extra money, by renting out an extra room. It all sounds very appealing. So, I'm not paying attention. First, I'm going to show you what I did in Silicon Valley because this is kind of fun. Okay, so I had a rudimentary website way back in the 90s when websites came in. I photographed some of the famous people in Silicon Valley, which Al Shugart, Bob Noyce, who co-founded Intel, Helmut Esslinger, who designed the first Apple computers, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, Scott Adams, T.J. Rogers, there they are again. And this is the type of work that I did, just to take you down memory lane. Okay? So, I'm talking too fast and I'm forgetting that I had slides.
Wow.
So, this is
amazing. Nice mustache.
He's gained a little weight, as we all have over the years. So these were done in 1978, when I was starting out. So, okay, now we can enter Airbnb. So I thought, okay, this is really appealing. I have an extra room. My mother just moved out of it. I went on the Airbnb website. How many of you have been on the Airbnb website? How many of you know? Okay, so almost everybody knows what Airbnb is. Airbnb is an online platform where people rent rooms or whole apartments or bungalows or houses. Originally, Airbnb started by 3 guys in San Francisco who needed to make the rent. And they rented out 3 airbeds in their living room for people to stay during a design conference that was being held in San Francisco. 2 out of the 3 guys were Rhode Island School of Design graduates. Their friends wrote them and said, we can't get a hotel. They put airbeds in their living room, and the rest is history, although if you hear them speak, it wasn't an easy history. They did the typical, or not so untypical, funding by credit card method of entrepreneurship. But anyway, the good story is that it has now changed a lot of the way business is done. People are copying Airbnb, people are using Airbnb as a generic word like Kleenex and Xerox. So they've done a lot since they started in 2008. But I had been in business before, and I knew that if I did this thing called Airbnb, it wasn't going to be like having a roommate. It was going to be a business, because people were going to be coming and going. I was going to need to have a lot more than just having a roommate. And I knew I needed a support network. My immediate thought was, oh my gosh, suppose I have a guest coming, they're on a plane here from Hong Kong, I can't reach them, and my mother has to go in the hospital. So my mother is now 92. At that time, she was almost 90. So it's not an impossible thing that could happen. So I thought, okay, I went on the Airbnb platform and tried to figure out how I could contact people that were Airbnb hosts that lived near me, who also rented rooms in their house. Enter technology working against the individual. At least on Craigslist, you can send somebody an anonymous email, and you can put information in that email like, hey, text me, or hey, here's my email, respond to me. But the Airbnb platform they're very, very conscious of protecting the identities and privacy of the hosts and the guests. So there's no way to contact each other. Once the guest makes the booking, you get their phone number, but you never get their email directly. But there's no way before there's a booking made for you to contact them. And there's no avenue for a host to contact another host. So like if I saw that there was somebody, which there are, at that time there were about 20 people within a mile circle of my house that were renting rooms in their house. That was my target support network, because I wanted somebody who could walk over or drive over quickly. Like, I have an emergency, my mother has to go to the hospital, could you please come to my house? I have a guest coming in 10 minutes. That kind of thing. So the tricky part was that you have to fake out the Airbnb messaging system. So once I figured that out, it's not easy, but it becomes simpler. So I sent messages to hosts that live near me, and the first thing in the message was, this is not a booking request. Please do not approve me to book in your place. Please read the whole message. And then I said, would you like to come for coffee? Would you like to meet other hosts in the area? So I sent out about 20, 25 inquiries, and I got a very, very positive response. And 12 people showed up in my living room. That was 2 years ago. That was immediately after I started hosting. So first of all, so this is what I did when I went on Airbnb. I fixed up my room. I took pictures of it because I'm a photographer. Airbnb will send a photographer to take pictures for you. So this is kind of what it looks like. Now I've got, for this particular room, I now do 3 rooms in my house where I live. But, so now I've got 44 reviews, all 5-star. I work really hard. I scrub a lot of floors. My partner, Gary, says that I'm too clean until he's heard some of the people in our group talk about places where they've stayed. And now he's a believer that you cannot be too clean. That's the one thing in Airbnb hosting. You either hire a really good cleaning service or you clean a lot. So we had traveled together first as Airbnb guests, and that's why another reason why Airbnb was in my consciousness. I thought, okay, this could work. People, it's not like a roommate. People don't live with you. People stay a short period of time. And to be frank, you can charge more than you can charge in a roommate service. So I could make a viable business out of it. I could make a living on it. So this is us. Okay. So after that first meeting, not even after that first meeting, in the middle of the first meeting, one of the women there said, okay, so where are we meeting next month? And we've been meeting monthly in each other's homes we just celebrated our 2nd anniversary. The good thing there have been so many good things. My idea of just an individual support network where I could call somebody and say, hey, can you help me out, has happened so many times. And I do it for other people. We help each other out. We refer resources. Somebody's cleaning person is sick, they can immediately find someone else to fill in because of the group resource. We started a closed Facebook group. We now have 60 people on the closed Facebook group, and people are posting every day, hey, I've got a cross booking request. Can anybody take a guest? I need a handyman. I need a plumber. I need a cleaning person. Did you see this interesting article about what Uber's doing? Did you see this interesting article about what Airbnb is doing, etc.? So we really do have a network going. And I think that's what you guys are doing here. The difference for us is that we're all in the same business for one aspect of our lives. Not everybody in our group is a full-time Airbnb host. Some people have full-time 9-to-5 jobs. Some people are entrepreneurs. Some people are artists. Some people are musicians. So it's been very interesting to see the diversity of people who are in our group. Our group has expanded now not just to people who are renting rooms within their home, but also, and I have bungalow envy, for people who have back bungalows, which there are tons of in Pasadena. I would tell anybody buying a house in Pasadena, do not buy a house without a bungalow. It is your retirement income. It is your child's private school tuition. It is golden. So along the course of our meeting, and when we started feeling comfortable with each other and realized we're not competing with each other because each of us has a unique and individual thing that we're offering. No two Airbnb homes are the same, no two Airbnb rooms are the same, no two Airbnb hosts are the same. So you're offering an individual product, even though you are covered by the umbrella brand of Airbnb. There's no way to make it generic. And we each have different hosting philosophies. Some of us like to interact with the guests, some of us don't. My philosophy is, having been a traveler both as a photojournalist and just liking to travel, my philosophy is I want to be that person on the path of your trip, your vacation, that makes a difference for you. That you say, oh, because of Leah, I found this cool restaurant, or I went to this museum that I wouldn't have known about, or this bookstore that I wouldn't have known about, or I got to my airplane on time, or something. I want to be that person that makes that little difference for each of my guests. So that's my philosophy, and that was my philosophy as a photographer as well. I wanted to make that supplier in the whole supply chain. I want to be that supplier that helped my clients solve a problem, and that's how I see myself as, I want to be that person that solves your problem. You could be my problem, but that's a different topic. That's why we have our group, so we can all complain about you in quiet. So our group was our Airbnb group was really starting to be more comfortable with each other, starting to realize that we weren't competing, starting to realize that we could help each other, and someone in the group said, hey, we should advertise. We should, put one of those ads in the map that the Chamber of Commerce gives out. It should say, Pasadena Homesharing Network.com, look for a cool place to stay or something. And the whole group, there must have been like 15, 20 people there, was silent. And the woman who was making this comment said, yeah, this is a great idea, everybody. Everybody looked at her like she had teleported in from Mars. And someone said, we might not be legal. Do we want to advertise? If we do, then the city knows we're here. So far, the city has ignored us. So we thought, okay, we've all researched this. We all think we know what we're doing. We've read all the stuff on the Airbnb website. We think we're fine. So one of the people in our group, we have wonderful resources, is a lawyer who works as a law librarian at the Superior Court. She said, I've read the city code, we're fine. I said, I read the city code too. My husband was a lawyer, so I get to play one on TV. So I think we're fine. So we decided, okay, but let's make sure. So we all read the city codes again and discussed them and debated them, and we're like Talmudic scholars. And we decided maybe we're not fine. Then we decided, yes, we are fine. So we decided to go down to City Hall and apply for business licenses, even though there's nothing in the business license code that covers room rental like we're doing. So we go to City Hall slowly, like one a week for a couple of weeks, and we all get told the same story. We don't license that. And as a matter of fact, we're not licensing that because the city manager's office is studying you guys. And so we thought, okay, they're studying us. And we couldn't find out who was studying us. I even composed an email and sent it to the city manager's office saying, we understand there's a study going on. Can you please inform us of what's happening? Silence. So one of the members of our group said, okay, we need to find out about this. And one of the members of our group is a colleague that comes to this group and knows Andy Wilson. So we met with Andy Wilson. I don't think Andy's here this morning.
Yes.
Oh, yay! Didn't see him in the hat back there. So we thought, okay, we have to deal with the city. First, what we have to do, another member of our group is a professor of social work, and she's a clinical social work professor, so she really digs surveys, numbers, graphs, charts, data. Not my thing. Okay. So this is why it's good to have a support network, because there's going to be somebody in your support network who digs the thing you don't. So she did an online survey of our group. We found, okay, this is us, Pasadena Home Sharing Network. We found that most of our group is long-term residents with more than 11 years. Most of our group are over 50. Most of our group are women, single women, divorced, widowed, single. And most of our group, as their second job, are entrepreneurs or in the arts or music. Okay, all those people that can't make money, that need more money. No surprise. Okay, this shows the distribution of Airbnb listings in Pasadena. We found out that Airbnb is only 0.37 of the population of the households. So contrary to, about this time, things started hitting the press of what was going on in Santa Monica, San Francisco, New York, Paris, other cities that were having disputes with Airbnb. So we wanted to also show the city that, hey, we're not the problem that they're having in other cities. We're part of the community. We're not really competing with hotels because the Airbnb listings in Pasadena are in neighborhoods. They're in people's homes. People choose to stay in Airbnbs so they can walk over to see their grandchildren, so they can walk over to see their parents, or so they can go to the Huntington, Kaplan Center, JPL, places like that. So we have a different clientele than the hotels. So anyway, we started working on this report, started gathering data, and that's where, when we met Andy Wilson, who was so gracious and so wonderful. He went through, I think, 4 different versions of our report until we got it down to something that was really on point. After we met with Andy Wilson, he introduced us to Steve Mermel, who is now acting city manager, but was the assistant city manager who had commissioned the study on us. And so he sat in my dining room, drank coffee at my dining room table and said, tell your group, you're cool, you're not illegal. You are in a gray area, you are not legal either. We don't have a code or a law that deals with you. Pasadena has a history of tourism, of guest cottages. I mean, the whole Rose Parade was started to bring tourists to Pasadena. It wasn't started for the residents, it was started for publicity, yeah? So we've always wanted to bring people here to have tourism. So the way that we are right now is that the city has got a lot on their table. We know that we're not illegal, and we are now part of the dialogue. So the city, we hope, will be working and talking with us whenever new codes are drafted. The great thing about our group is that we have formed a support network. We really help each other, and now we're at the point where we can start looking forward. Where do we want to be as a group? We recently, one of our hosts housed a Afghan refugee. We're hoping to work more with refugee referral agencies and be able to do that as a group. We're hoping to do volunteer activity. Maybe a team of us would work with Habitat for Humanity or Rebuilding Together. We'd like to do promotion. We'd like to advertise. We'd like to have a website. We can do that now because we're not illegal. And we'd like to eventually do mentoring. We mentor each other, but we'd like to do some mentoring of lower income, widowed women, single women, and help them stay in their homes. So for the work that I did, and the reason that I'm here, is that I was nominated for an award by Airbnb as a community organizer. My Jewish atheist socialist grandfather would be very proud of me because he was very politically active, so somewhere his genes got into my bloodstream. And you can go online and see this video of me because I'm not going to play a video of me talking when I've already talked too much. So, oh yeah, I won. I was nominated and I won. Yeah, I know. My partner says, yeah, tell me that you won. Yes. So the good news and the bad news was that the award was given last year at the Airbnb Open Conference in Paris, and I was supposed to get up in front of 5,000 people. Oh. But Paris got bombed and they canceled the last day of the conference. Oh. So I didn't even know for 2 more months that I had won. But then I thought, okay, well, at least I didn't have to talk to 5,000 people. So thank you very much, and if I haven't already bored you to tears, I'll be glad to take questions.
Thank you so much, Leah. That was actually really informative and surprisingly detailed in your analysis. I'm actually blown away, considering that your background is in photography. You did a really, really good job. Absolutely, but
considering I'm an artist and anything digital.
That's what I'm talking about. I think it exceeded your expectations. You know, this is a great presentation. We really appreciate it. We're now opening up for a Q&A. Comments, you can leave it after offline. But you guys, if you have a question, we'll walk around with the mic and we'll get your voice heard.
There's somebody right back there too.
Oh, okay. I'll work my way around.
So I was going to say too that our group has now become the board of directors for each of us. I mean, we just, if somebody gets a crazy idea, we have people that we can bounce it off of.
So I just wanted to ask, is that report available? Can I find it online?
No, but if you leave me your business card, I can send you a PDF. It is online on our closed Facebook page. But when we get, now that we've decided that we're going to go public, we are going to have a website. In my copious spare time, I will create this, and we will have the report on there. And so thank you for asking.
Over here.
Okay, the question is simple. How can I join and what is the requirement?
How can you join our group?
That's right.
Are you an Airbnb host?
Yes.
In Pasadena?
South Pasadena.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Okay. Yes, we have had South Pasadena and we do have some Altadena, so yes.
Yes.
We try to keep it Pasadena only, especially because we're doing all this legal stuff that doesn't apply. But yes, so come and see me, give me your business card. Our next meeting is March 13 in Altadena. So we do. Yeah.
Does anybody else have a question?
I think this gentleman did, or no?
Over here.
So you went from the mama of Papa now to the mama of Pasadena?
I wasn't the old lady of Pasadena, I hate to say it. Because I think when that song was written, the little old lady of Pasadena was not so old. now the little old ladies in Pasadena are in their 90s, I think before they were like me in their 60s.
I'm just wondering if Airbnb is thinking about maybe rolling this out and making it a little easier, because you have
Yes, okay, so when we went to Airbnb Open, Airbnb has now come out with something called their Compact with Communities. Oh, so while we were trying to put together our report to the city, we contacted Airbnb. We wrote a letter to Airbnb. We emailed all the top brass at Airbnb. We heard nothing. We sent the letter by snail mail to their corporate headquarters. We heard nothing. A month went by and we heard nothing. Inexcusable, because we are actually their lifeblood. Okay, we're not their customers, but we are providing their service. So I did what any millennial would do. I posted a complaint on their corporate Facebook page. I haven't learned how to do Twitter yet. I would have done that. I hate to admit this. Okay, so I posted the thing on Facebook in the morning, and by 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a person was on the phone with me. And the person said to me, "We got your letter. We got your email. Oh, I also posted a complaint on their help website. We got the complaint on the help website." I said, "Okay. So it's been a month and a half and I've heard from nobody. We don't know what to tell you." But we don't want anybody to know that we don't know what to tell you. Okay, so fast forward. Last year at Airbnb Open, which is their now annual conference, they rolled out a new platform called the Airbnb Compact with Communities. And they are now they're trying. You hosts still can't contact each other directly. They still don't have any mechanism to do this. But they're trying to make it more easy for people to become legal with their city. And you can imagine Airbnb is in something like 195 countries. And if you multiply how many cities, that's thousands of cities and millions of hosts. They said New Year's Eve of this year, they booked 1 million stays. So it's a lot. I mean, when you start thinking about the scope of it, you realize, okay, now I know why they can't figure out what they're doing, because there's just too much. But they're trying. And sometimes it's trying to deal with them.
Back here.
Yeah.
Have you ever hosted JPL summer interns?
Yes. I love JPL summer interns. They work such long hours you never see them. So yes, I'm open to that. And I'm hosting right now for 3 months a Huntington Scholar. And I've hosted Kaplan people that are studying for medical exams. I mean, even though I want to make a difference in my guest stays, if there's long-term guests, I like the kind of long-term guests that work a lot of hours and aren't. My secret confession.
There you go.
How long do people stay on average, or in your experience? And secondly, how are you trying to prove to the city that you're not competing with the hotels? Meaning, do you take surveys from the people who stay?
Yes.
And what else do you do?
Okay, so on average, it varies because different hosts have different requirements. I have a 2-night minimum. It's not worth me wasting my water to wash all those sheets for less than 2 nights. I like to take somebody for a month maximum, but I will take interns and people for 3 or 4 months. So it varies. I would say my average stay is a week. The way we differ from hotels is a lot of times, and I don't allow pets, but there are people that allow pets. A lot of times people want to bring their pets. A lot of times people are traveling with a family. People like kitchen facilities. Pasadena has a shortage of hotels. They're building 7 or 8 more as we speak. Pasadena does not have a huge reservoir of corporate housing on the Oakwood model. So if you're here for business and you're staying a week or two to work on a contract, or you're here at JPL, there's no place to stay. Also, those places start at about $175 a night. You can get a very nice room in my house for $57 a night, and you can get another very nice room in my house for between $65 and $75. Not at Rose Parade time. We won't tell you how much we gouge. But the rates everywhere go up. I read that the Vagabond Inn was $600 a night. Okay, so I'm not that high. We provide a different service. A lot of women, I've been told by women traveling alone, they like it that somebody knows that they came home at night. There are whole bungalows for rent. I mean, Pasadena has a lovely heritage of having back houses with bungalows. So there are whole bungalows that you can rent, your whole family can stay. Some people rent their house out when they go away. One of the colleagues that comes here, he only rents his house when his family goes to visit grandma and grandpa. So they rent their house over the summer, and they rent their house over Christmas, New Year's for the Rose Parade. When they do that, I go and greet their guests, make sure that the cleaning lady has cleaned in between, and help him out, because he just lives down the block from me. So yeah, now we have done a survey. We have found that one of the top reasons, it was on our little presentation, I mean, the top reasons that people don't like to stay in a hotel is that they want a more unique experience, or they want to be in walking distance of their relatives. That's one of the biggest ones. I have a lot of, this is something I never anticipated, return guests. I have a whole roster of return guests. I call them my Airbnb cousins. And they're visiting their grandkids, they're visiting their elderly parents, they're visiting their college-age kids, something like that. So they have a reason to come back several times. And we all of us hosts have that. And one of, so people like that, and most of the hotels are in one area only in Pasadena, which makes sense. I mean, that's the zoning. But with Airbnb, you can pick a neighborhood.
One last question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I talk too much.
A very sort of probably thought of this. I'm guessing that you know that you can get, let's try this as a question. Have you figured out that you want to get your website up from one of the web developers here?
Oh, well, that's an interesting thought too. Yes, I mean, I can do a, what do you call it, WordPress website pretty fast. Like everything in a democracy, it's not the putting up of the website, it's getting everybody in the group to decide what the website should be. One of my guests that came from Beijing was reading in the newspaper about the bullet train, and said, "You not have bullet train in California?" I said, "No, we not have bullet train in California. We are working on having a bullet train." He said, "Paper says you're working on having bullet train for 20 years. What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, we have a different form of government. Everything has to be discussed and talked about, and there have to be hearings." China much better. You win some, you lose some in this international exchange.
What do you do about safety?
Okay. Yes, that is a question that hotels have raised. Okay, I'm very safety conscious. And Airbnb tries to educate hosts to be very safety conscious, and we are educating the hosts in our group. I personally can talk about my own. I have fire extinguisher, I have carbon monoxide, I have, fire smoke detectors. I have grab rails in all my tubs and bathtubs. And
Personal safety.
oh, personal safety. Oh, personal safety. Okay, there's three things that I did. First of all, my partner Gary and I had traveled together on Airbnb, so we already had a mutual profile. So I decided as a single woman living alone, I would use that mutual profile so that there would be a man standing next to me in the picture. It makes me feel a little bit better that, you know, I mean, Airbnb is not a dating website. So, you know, not that that would appeal to some people. I'm an old lady, but anyway. So that was my first thought. Okay, I'm not gonna be standing there by myself. This isn't a dating website. Second thing is Airbnb has what they call verification. The guest must provide a lot of information, including, I will not take anybody. You as a host can indicate what level of verification you want. I will not take anybody that is not fully verified, which means that they also have posted to Airbnb a photo that matches an offline ID, such as a driver's license or passport picture. You know, passport, so that the person that's renting my space is who they say they are. I personally will not do what Airbnb calls instant booking, which is like like you go on Expedia.com and you book a hotel room. I won't do that. So I have a messaging dialogue through the Airbnb cumbrous messaging system with all of my guests. Sometimes it goes on forever because they ask one question and then 10 minutes later they think of the next question. You know, all day long you're sitting there answering their questions like, do you have a grocery store down nearby? Do you have laundry? You know, all those things that people want to know, but please put it in one question. Okay, so I did have one. When I first started, I did have one man that messaged me, and he was coming for his son, to see his son who was at Art Center, and blah, 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 and we had a lot of messages, and I kept telling him, you need to post a picture that looks like you on the website, and he never got it done. He came to my door, and I said, I need to see your driver's license before you can come in my home. So far, I've had really good luck. I had one guest with whom I did not feel comfortable. I think the lady did have, I think she was high-functioning autism. I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist, so I don't know. But I found her at midnight in her nightgown wandering around in my living room talking to herself and telling me that the room was too small. The particular room she was in is small. I do put the exact measurements of it on the website. But I had two other rooms in my house booked. One was a Chinese family and one were two Chinese college students. They did not seem to see this older lady walking around in her nightgown. So I did calmly tell her that, well, yes, but she had to stay in the room tonight because it wasn't safe for her because I had men in the house. Okay, so she got that idea. And the next day I was able to convince her to leave. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't been able to convince her to leave. That was the only really scary thing. But it wasn't so much scary as feeling threatened as it just felt very inappropriate.
All right, give another warm applause.